Good evening, everyone, and hope you guys are having a wonderful Wednesday evening. Welcome to TwitchLine, your home for relationship advice here on Twitch. I am your host, Hodo Hori, or you may call me Z, my real name. We are here to help with relationship problems that you might be having here. So, Twitch minions out there, hello, good evening, and hopefully we can help you with some of the issues that you have today. For those first joining us, we are a relationship channel dedicated to helping people with problems that they have within their relationships. They don't necessarily have to be romantic relationship issues, but any problems that you might have, we're here for some helpful advice to help you to get through whatever issues you may have. If you are a person with a question and you are feeling shy about it, please contact us on our Gmail or email account at twitchlinelove@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at twitchline. And if you're feeling you need a little bit of discreetness, or you want to be a little don't want to admit who your persona is, and you want to do ask us a question, please contact us on those forms of communication, and we will get to your questions and answer them here on our next edition of Twitchline. So, joining me as my co-host on Twitchline, as always, is my friend Acorn. Mr. Tim, how are you tonight?
Doing well, my friend. Doing well. It's a beautiful evening. The weather is fine, and I just finished a delicious milk tea, so I'm ready to rock.
This is going to be great. And yes, milk tea, bubbles, no bubbles?
Come on, of course I got bubbles.
Of course. So we're going to go straight into our first topic here, and as you can see, we've updated the graphics a little bit. There was some things I noticed in the last cast when we were talking. People really didn't know what we were talking about, so we're going to keep the topic here on the main channel when it's going to be the two of us here on screen, so that you know what topic we're sort of going to be discussing. And today's first topic is the 5 things men look for, but this is more associated to lists and basically why they exist. So let's get into that right now, and I'm going to go ahead and read it. This is from Henry 6592047Q9Q. Sounds like it is a throwaway account to me, but his article says, "Can we get the internet to stop at these 5 things men look for?" type articles. And he writes, "So I'm a man, and I like to Google my thoughts. So today I Googled, and I find all of these dumb articles about 5 secret things men look for. Do women read this shit? I don't feel smothered when women tell me they love me. I love to hear that. I wish I heard it more often. I don't like being described as apathetic or unaffectionate. I'm very affectionate. I don't know why it's so hard for people to understand that we all have nuance and we're all individuals. These generalizations of men and women lead to dumb dating games. I'm pretty sick of it." Well, Henry, this is one of those things where the internet likes lists. It basically keeps Tim and I in business, essentially. Because the thing about lists is that they provide sort of hard goals. For people, what they think they should be looking for. Some people have no idea where to start. A list sometimes helps people know where they should be starting. It's also one of those things in which they are also very controversial because you're right, there is nuance in the world, and some things are not generalizations when it comes to relationships. People act differently. People relate to people differently. There is no hard and fast way on how you should be with a person, or if a person likes you being affectionate. Some people are not very affectionate at all, and they're completely okay with that. So it's one of those things in which will lists go away? No. They'll exist forever. I don't understand how BuzzFeed doesn't make money without having a list every day, be it on dating, food, or otherwise. But it keeps them in business because it keeps people coming back to either insult, agree, or disagree with their lists. Timmy, lists on the internet, what's your opinion on the whole thing?
Total agreement. They are not going anywhere. And what we need to keep in mind also is that those lists are not the first purpose of those lists is not to help you. The first purpose of those lists is to get you to read the list. And to read the list, it means clicking on their website and or buying that magazine with the list on the cover. So we're looking at psychology and advertising.
Mm-hmm.
People will try to make money off you because they think that you are seeking a magical solution to an age-old problem, right? How do I get the opposite sex, the same sex, the person I'm interested in to want me, to like me? And all I have to do is throw something out there that says, hey, you know what? No one got it until now. We got it. It's simple. It's 5 things. It's 10 things. You buy this, and your problems are solved. So we have to think to ourselves, what actually sells? Sex sells. If you look at every single Cosmopolitan magazine for the last 20 something years, you will find the word sex on the cover. Guaranteed. Secret sell. What you didn't know this thing? Well, there it is now, and you've got it, and you've got the secret. Your life's going to be fine. Effortless success. Take this magic pill, and you will be the best lover that this person's ever experienced. And then just scandalous stuff and taboo stuff. So uh, you can't talk about this with just anyone. Here it is, and here, and we're giving you the deepest, darkest secrets in detail, and all the nasty things that no one wants to talk about. So yeah, all these things together, they're just designed to get into your head, to get you there. The people who write these lists, there is no sense that they have any idea what they're talking about. Uh, if it's a men's magazine and men are writing about women, it's probably a man writing, maybe a man writing about it. And if it is, who's to say that he is particularly successful with women, or that these things actually do what they say that they do? So we also have to think about the intended audience for these lists, right? They're looking for someone who needs an answer, and they ride these stereotypes really hard. There is almost no new news out there. When they tell you the best sex moves, they're really reaching sometimes when they come up with some of the stuff. Put an ice cube between your knees and spin around and see what happens, right? It's like, most of it's like, oh, have you ever tried the non-traditional erogenous zone? Well, I mean, if you spent any time with another person naked, chances are you've gotten around to something like that on your own through exploration. Like it may help somebody, but in general, this stuff is not really designed to rewrite a book. It's just designed to get you to pay and then click.
Yeah, and the thing about it is it's the old adage, it's a quick fix. Essentially, what it does is that you have to be careful when it comes to that type of advice because you can't pigeonhole everyone into a certain situation. People are different and inherently different. And specifically when you're dealing with lists with regards to men or women or anything like that, uh, people are always looking, trying to find answers as to why something didn't go right or why something didn't go wrong. And if if somebody has this sort of weird aha moment, it's like, aha, this list told me that the reason I wasn't successful with Gina or with my other girlfriends or whatever is because I didn't follow these 5 steps. And I maybe in my next relationship, if I follow these next 5 steps, I'm going to have a successful relationship. No, that's not how that works. Like what you need to do is you need to talk to the other person and tell them why is it that I am not sort of like affecting you this way, or why are you not affectionate with me when I like to be affectionate? Like you have to be open with your other person and be able to sort of say to the other person things that you don't necessarily say to other people and you're comfortable about, because being honest with your partner will be way better than any list that says how to improve your relationship in these 5 steps. The first
Yeah,
thing,
can
and there
we
should be one
can,
thing, and it would be talking to the other person and understanding what they want. And that's usually will fix everything. That's your list. That pretty much breaks it down.
can we just say that like anything with any level of complexity, such as love, uh, relationships, that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
just cannot be digested to a top 5 list or a
Yeah.
top 10 list.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, anything that can be put into a top 5 or 10 has to be so superficial and meaningless that it can just be, clicked on and clicked on, and then done. And I don't think that people who are looking for real answers should be going to that for them.
Yeah. But
Are we any better than that with our show here?
you know what? I don't know. We just provide. I think personally, we provide a perspective that might not necessarily be out there. We could be providing a general perspective that people also think it's like, oh yeah, those guys really know what they're talking about because I feel what they feel. But there are also professionals who write books on topics like this, and they go in depth on specific topics, and they try to sort of figure out, like, you're having intimacy issues with your significant other, like how do you go about understanding why these issues occur. Now those types of things are actually useful, because one, these are professionals who sort of understand what they're trying to sort of tackle. They're usually specific topics that they'll try to focus on, and books with regards to sometimes with dating and stuff like that, especially if they're written by PhDs who are in psychology or therapy or even sort of interpersonal relationships. When you go through to college, they do studies and try to figure out, like, like what are the main causes of relationship issues. How do you go about fixing it? Is it something personal? Because sometimes it's an individual who is unable to sort of reach out and sort of try to help an individual be more open with their partner, something like that. And you're right, nothing complex can be sort of summed up in 5 simple items that can be listed out. That's just it's not there,
Yeah.
but it's for desperation purposes. Like people will try to reach out and try to see if there's something that I can do, especially people who are in relationships that are sort of like falling apart. Like, you see something happening that you might not be able to stop, like a relationship ending or something like that, and they're trying to fix it, and they're trying to get a quick fix because they want to get back to, where they were a year ago, where everything was happy and, it was like sunshine and rainbows and stuff like that. But life isn't like that. Like, things change, people's emotions and people how they feel about each other change. So like, but it's working in that relationship and trying to figure out like what you're trying to do. If you go to a list and you are desperate enough to see if that list will work, you're probably to a point where it might not necessarily be the best place for you in your relationship. So that's about it. Final thoughts on this topic, Timmy?
Yeah, I think we hit it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that those lists are not serving anyone but the advertisers, people trying to make money off it.
Hmm.
And if people want real, nuance, experience, deeper thinking, then we should probably go a bit deeper, look into the books about dating and relationships, see a professional therapist. Uh, Hell, these days go on Reddit because you got thousands of people ready to chime in on your personal histories and stuff. So uh, I would say though that books like that try to angle these pickup artist books and stuff like that, I'm not going to support that. I, I think it can be effective, but I just think there's sort of an underhanded kind of shady side to it that I can't condone. And assuming everyone had the best intentions in the world out there, maybe that would be fine. Understanding psychology and human interaction, you can use that to your advantage to make a connection. But like at the point that you're just trying to run through people and you don't care about their feelings, yeah, I'm not going to support that. So
Yeah. So, for everybody out there, there is no quick fix for your issues. No list, in our opinion, will save whatever it is that you're trying to do, or try to get you a girl. Because remember, there are lists with regards to how you've seen them in Maxim and those guy magazines. 5 great ways to pick up a chick, or 5 ways to impress your lover in bed. No, talk to a person, like get to know them. That's the easiest way, because if they're willing to talk to you, you have an opportunity to get a window into their mind, and that in a way is more attractive to more people than you know. So, for those who out there who believe in lists, sorry, we don't agree with you. So, next, so we're going to go on to the next topic here, and it's about something with regards to something I'm not familiar with, and it is something called polyamory. So, uh, Tim, can you explain what it is real fast before we go into the topic?
sure, yeah. So basic. The polyamory is a practice of or desire for intimate relationships with more than one partner, with the consent of all partners involved. Right? This is not just like stepping out on your wife or your girlfriend or something like that. This is like everyone involved knows about each other and is fine with it and good with it and maybe even enjoys that. Um, it's also been described as consensual, ethical, and responsible non-monogamy. So, yeah, stepping away from that traditional one-on-one connection and done right, very healthy and happy and a wonderful experience. But today's user, Rain is Sunshine, uh, is not finding that same experience. And so this is from the Dating Over 30 Reddit. And our question is, can someone explain to me why polyamory seems to be all the rage? I'm not trying to knock it, but I've been on a streak lately of a guy after guy telling me that he's polyamorous or poly, and then trying to recruit me. Is there a business model that I'm missing? Books I'm supposed to buy? Is it part of a religious movement or just a fad? I consider myself non monogamous to a point. I'm respectful towards how people want to have fun, but I just feel like there's something I'm missing out on. I did ask Reddit polyamory this a couple of weeks ago, and if you were to have replaced poly with Scientology, it would have read about the same. Really not trying to bash it here, really trying. So, yeah. Uh, my first thing that popped in my head here is we just talked about what polyamory is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what isn't it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is not. I want to bang a bunch of people and I want you to be cool with it and just hang around while I get my rocks off. That is not polyamory. And I think a lot of these guys that she's running into are basically just trying to like get away with some shit. Like, hey, I'm with you, but I also kind of want to be with her, and I want you to be okay with that. So like, is that cool? And yeah, in the fast food world of online dating, I think it's pretty easy for people to make those initial connections, and maybe someone's down for it. But if the user is not, then I'd say this is probably not uh, her scene, or that if it is her scene, she needs to look for the real people in there and not these scam artists that are just trying to get some extra sexy time.
Yeah, and it's a little weird to me because like I have never engaged in polyamory, and I've never met anybody who has been engaged in polyamory. I just find that for somebody who's only been in monogamous relationships, this is just very fascinating to me. That somebody can actually feel like that they can be in a relationship with multiple people, a loving relationship with multiple people at the same time, where everybody involved is okay with it, and they are also in a relationship not with just the member of the opposite sex. Remember, like this can also include being in a relationship with somebody of the same sex, and all 3 or 4 of you could be in a relationship with theoretically each other. And I don't know. It's just for me. It just sort of boggles my mind that that's something that people seem to be very comfortable with because to a point early in my youth, like I had even trouble just talking to somebody one on one, like sharing emotions and feelings and with a significant other. I can't imagine being able to share a meaningful relationship with multiple people in a very intimate way. And it's not just about sex. This is supposedly an emotional connection between multiple people in that particular way. I mean, like you go into history and polyamorous relationships existed like in the Mormon religion, for example. You know, you have husbands with multiple wives, and it's mostly more in males dominating with multiple wives and stuff like that. But in more recent times, you see women have multiple male partners in polyamorous relationships, where a woman might have two or more boyfriends, and those boyfriends are very okay with each other. Dating the same woman, so and are okay with each other's relationship, and they know that they're in a group situation. To me, it's just very fascinating. So I don't really have that much to contribute because I'm not very experienced with it. So it's like but reading about it, it is just fascinating how people can see. But it also opens you up to like our polyamorous relationship. And you asked this question earlier: is like are polyamorous relationships open to people who are just in it for the sex, or is it just one of those things in which somebody can be sort of abused in a situation like that, who's actually looking for an actual relationship, but does it play to people who have low self-esteem, who feel like that they don't necessarily have a lot of self-worth, and feel like that they being in a relationship like this opens them up and makes them feel better, but in fact there's a partner that is taking advantage of their situation or their mental state. I don't know. It's like it's very interesting. So,
Yeah, I guess that's possible.
hmm.
I think there is definitely a line between polyamory and polygamy.
Mhm.
Uh, before coming back home to the U.S., I was working overseas in Abu Dhabi in the Middle East for 7 years, and during that time, a lot of the locals that I met there had multiple wives, and it's that's based on the Muslim religion, and it is accepted across society as kind of a standard the old way, but people still do it now. There are strict rules about it, and it's not there's no crossover, right? It's not like
Mhm.
the man is with the wife and the wives are together and doing none of that extra stuff.
It's not big
Uh,
love, is basically
right,
what you're saying. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Uh, but this is a brave new world here in America where there's sort of like sexual freedom that we are welcome to explore and is more and more accepting. But like everything else, I think people start to take something that is legitimate and then turn it into a trend or start to abuse it in some way, right? So you have people that are diagnosed with ADHD, and then you have people that say, "Oh, I'm so ADHD, I can't focus on this," and they sort of get away with it, right?
Mhm.
Or someone that's clinically depressed, and then you have other people that are like, "Oh, I'm so depressed," but really you're not. You're just, you're sad, right? Other people are like, "I'm bi," uh, because I kissed Becky at the bar, and and you're just showing off in front of the guys there to get attention. You're not actually bi. Let's keep it real here.
Mhm.
So I think that there are probably people who go into polyamory and get excited about the concept, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I totally want to have a threesome, so I'm going to be polyamorous." You're not getting a kid. That's not it. That's not how it's going to go.
Mhm.
This is much more sophisticated. I think this is it is probably as much as you can say I am a person who seeks out monogamous relationships. This would be a whole different um, way of viewing connecting to other people, and not just a quick wham bam thank you ma'am, another dude that was all involved at one time. That's not the scene. So uh, people just need to, if this is what's out there in front of you, look a little deeper, see what they're really about, and if they are truly about this, and you want to be about this, then welcome to it.
Oh yeah.
And if you're being pressured into this, that's not going to be that's not going to be where you want to be. You know, you got to be true to yourself, and you shouldn't be letting someone else dictate your sexuality and your comfort zones there.
Like every other relationship, if you're being forced into anything, it's a big red flag. Like, remember, you are who you are. So, like, if you think you are going into something that you are comfortable with and you are okay with, then completely fine. But if somebody's saying that I'm not going to date you unless you accept my other partner, then that person's an asshole. Plain and simple. Because it's like, well, that's not a polyamorous relationship. That guy or girl just wants to sleep with other people. And you shouldn't be able to accept it if you're not going to be willing to be part of their entire relationship. That just makes no sense. So, as we've said before, this boils down to comfort and personal preference. And if you're really willing to sort of ask questions like that, I think a person here on in our topic, Rain and Sunshine, actually did go to the subreddit r/polyamory, and I think they actually do have a FAQ, uh, frequently asked questions with regards to what polyamory is, what their community is like. If they're interested in something like that, please go there. Maybe it might be a
Yeah,
starting point. Mm-hmm.
and if anyone out there is polyamorous and
Mm-hmm.
wants to come on here and like set the world straight and just share your experience, please, send us an email, and we'd really be interested in hearing perspective and experiences from that place.
Absolutely. That would be very, very interesting. And it would be purely educational because for me, I've never met a polyamorous person. I would have questions. I think it's just a very fascinating topic in a way that, like, because we live in a society that's normally monogamous, and looks upon multiple partners as, to a point, shameful, because of the way that we've lived our entire society in most ways. Most, Western civilizations, most Eastern civilizations, you've only had one partner. Hell, penguins only have one partner. So it's like, it's just one of those things. To be in a true polyamorous relationship where each of the members are emotionally involved, they are accepting, and they are emotionally connected to each other is just very, very fascinating to me. But yeah, so is it all the rage? I don't know. I mean, I think you explained it earlier. I think it was just some guy, possibly maybe just running into the wrong people. But is it something that is absolutely real? Yes, polyamory is absolutely real. So it would be very, very interesting here. I'm getting a lot of Discord questions here. Interesting pop-ups. So let's go on to the next topic here. And this one was a topic that I brought up, and this was very, very popular here on Reddit. So, for those who don't know, the abbreviation AITA, it stands for "Am I the Asshole?" So, this particular person wrote on a throwaway account. It was a very, very popular post earlier today, and this is very topical for Twitch. But this particular person was in a relationship with another person and broke up with her over her video games. And this again, and just to enlighten everybody, this was a lesbian relationship, two females, not an obsessive male who was very, very into his video game collecting. This is absolutely two females who were in a lesbian relationship, and one was dumped because an ultimatum happened. So let me read how the story goes, and it is from Throwaway Video Games, and the topic was AITA, am I the asshole for breaking up with my girlfriend over my video games? So I have a decent video collection, video games. I will not post pictures as I do not want to post this link to my actual account. My girlfriend of 2 years, 25F, and me, 24F, decided that we wanted to move in together. She kind of mentioned getting rid of my collection, but I thought she was joking, so I brushed it off. Turns out she wanted me to get rid of my whole video game collection. Some of my games are worth some money, and I've been keeping them so that they can become more expensive. My collection is also 3 years of me thrift shopping, and I don't want to throw that away. I tried to explain it, but she refused and told me that if I did not love her enough to make the sacrifice. About 2 to 3 days ago, she called me and said, "It's me or the fucking video games." I chose the games, and she hung up on me. Everyone that I've spoken to, excluding a few people, have been telling me I fucked up, and I should have picked her over some games. Am I the asshole? Now, this isn't as straightforward as the 23,000 and 5,000 comments, 23,000 upvotes and comments went through, because to me, this whole posting is incomplete. Because there are multiple things that go into this, that it's possible that the poster might have been looking for some justification. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here on the other side, and I'm going to explain why I say that. Because going into this relationship, both people must have known that the main poster here in this particular collection was a video game collector. Must have It had to have come up. They must have gone to each other's places and apartments and understood what was going on. Now, when you move in together, there is this thing about respecting everybody's. You're sharing a space, so decisions have to be mutual. Now, the space that they moved into was not described in this post. We don't know how big or how little it was, and we don't know how big or little the video game collection is. Was this something tremendously huge? Was this something that was small? We don't know. We can't make that decision. Was it something that was taking a tremendous amount of space that was maybe making living together problematic? We don't know that. We do know that one of the partners insisted on trying to get rid of it early on, before as they were moving in together, and then used an ultimatum to make the other person decide, you or me. Was this ultimatum something after multiple arguments that were not mentioned in the post? Was this something that possibly that the poster was joking about, saying, "Okay, I'll get rid of him, ha ha ha," not knowing that their partner was being serious? There are a whole lot of things that goes into this, but if I'm just reading this on just the top of what I'm reading, without any of that, I would say that, was it wrong for you to basically break up with your girlfriend over video games? I would say personally no, because if it is such a whole big part of your life, your your significant other should have understood that before going into a relationship with you. This is something very important to me. This is something that I really, really love. It is a big part of my life. It is a big part of who I am, and it would be very, very hard for me to give this up. And I am not a big fan of ultimatums. I think it's one of those things in relationships that is very detrimental in a way, because, making infinite choices of, like, basically extreme choices of one or the other, I just don't agree with that. I think there needs to be compromise, especially in a relationship. You need to be able to understand where the other person is coming from and maybe come up with a equitable solution. And as I've heard at work, the best solutions are usually the ones that both people hate. So, my 2 cents about
Yeah.
this all.
I have a question. I mean, of course, it's a question that can't be answered because
Yeah,
the person's not here with us. But like, for me, I would wonder, does this person's video game collection? I mean, I don't know if their person's hoarding them, or if they're spending all their money on it, or how much space it takes up. But like, does does it somehow affect the other member of the relationship,
that's a
or does
very
it
good
affect the
point.
relationship itself? Because if you're spending all your money on video games and not saving some money to go on a weekend trip somewhere, then there it is. Yeah, it has an effect.
Hmm.
But if it's just kind of your thing and it's just what you're into, and the other person just wants to be more important than the games, and like has self-esteem issues, or just doesn't think that you should be investing that much energy into something, then that comes down to a conflict of lifestyle choice and personality. And again, like you said, Z, this is something that should have been hashed out early on, not at the point of moving in. Right? This
Oh no,
goes this
absolutely.
goes beyond the games. This is like you're choosing who you want to be with.
Hmm.
And if the person you want to be with is really into something, honestly, if they love it, then you should love that they love it, right? That
Hmm.
means that things are going well, and that you're, that you appreciate the person for who they are, and you're not trying to change them or limit them. So I look at this and I see it as it's a breakdown in in a lifestyle between these two, and a breakdown in the personalities. And if this something like this is a reason to break up, then it wasn't going to work anyways.
Yeah, and this is a perfect example of a situation where if you are in a relationship with somebody, the there are a lot of questions that need to be asked before you move in with somebody, and because that's the step in most standard relationships where people will basically try to figure out, is this person going to be the person I'm going to be with for the rest of my life? When you move in with somebody like that, it is a huge step moving in with each other, and there are barriers to living together that you do not actually experience when you live in separate places. Um, this is a perfect example of this. Is I had a relationship breakup because we were together too often, and it just became problematic. But when we were apart, we had time to basically do what we wanted to do. And when we met with each other, it was nice because our whole attention was dedicated to each other. And but when we were together for an extended period of time, 3 months, and we just got on each other's nerves, it was just not a situation that was very tenable for either of us because we were so used to having so much space and being able to be who we are away from each other, and that when we were with each other we were focusing on the other part, on the part of the person. When you live with each other, you live in their lives, you live in their lives, and
Shit gets real
shit get
quick.
real quick. Everything from bathroom usage to how you act in the living room to little things of basically like not putting your socks right into the hamper right away. You learn everything about the other person really freaking quickly. And it's one of
Yeah,
those
man.
things in which you have to understand that if that shit gets on your nerves early on, it's probably going to get worse.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this on a little side trip here, a little
Yeah.
tangent. Uh, I think this is general, some advice to all you people out there. If you're planning on getting married, make sure you live together first. Uh, you learn a lot about yourself, what you need as far as personal space, what you're willing to put up with in sharing that space. And it's actually like you can learn how to be a more generous and kind person just through that experience. It is hard at first, and for some people, it doesn't go away. It's gonna be a lifelong struggle, but uh, it will tell you some information that is very important to know before you take that big leap. So I would say that. I let's see. Personally, if I had to look around the apartment here, I would say uh, we have a lot of mugs, and my loving wife is a mug collector enthusiast. She's worked for an airline for a while and traveled to something like 35 countries, and every single country she came back with a mug. And in within the countries, in different big cities, she come back with a mug. And at some point, we had more mugs than we had space to put them. So, uh, this was one of my little things here. I'm like, oh, this person is going to fill this entire apartment up with mugs if I don't say something. So we ended up compromising. We have the mugs that are in common usage and the ones that are stored away. And every once in a while, we move some in and move some out, and we have our, sort of a cycling of the mugs, and we're all happy. So there is negotiation. Okay, it doesn't have to be just my way, your way, right? These two girls could have figured this out by having a communication and saying what's good for both of us.
No, absolutely. So we've got some interactive people. So saying hi to Rangrith and Yellowcello out here in the channel. Rangrith was told that he should not live together with his significant other before getting married. Now, there are statistics that say those who live together first and end up getting married end up with a higher divorce rate, which is actually very interesting. Like they say
Yeah.
that people who end up marrying and not living together, and then they basically are together, have this mentality. Well, you know what? I am now married to you. I have to commit to you, so I have to accept your little, intricacies, your little things, and but they also have to do with mine. So it also forces people to compromise more. So the reason a lot of people say that that there is a higher divorce rate with people who live together first before they get married is because the mentality of living together isn't necessarily sort of under that sort of scope of being married, because you're not married. You can get out if you want, but even though that you're married, you're still sort of feeling that you were in that premarital relationship where you were living together, and I can get out. And that might be a contributing factor as to why people say that, like, and the statistics break out that, like, people who live together before they get married actually divorce more, because of that sort of mentality when they were moved together, when they were living together and they weren't married. It wasn't like a stipulation of why they were moving together in the first place. It was just them living together, uh,
Yeah.
in sin.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Okay. I think if we go traditional, right? If we look at traditional, and I don't know what the correlation would be, but
Yeah,
if you look at relationships from many years ago, you didn't have the option to live together first, right?
yeah.
If you lived together, if you tried to live together back then, it's basically like running away and shotgun wedding kind of deal. Today, these days, people cohabit freely, readily, and it's almost like a way of like a step in the relationship process towards marriage.
Hmm.
And some people won't get married until they've had that experience. If you want to break up with someone, living together is also a great idea because
Yeah.
you can find out all the messed up stuff about them and immediately want to run, run for the hills. Um, my personal advice, the reason I said uh, that you should live with someone is because I want to know what is coming before I fully commit to something, and having a taste of it, good or bad, give it all to me, so that at least I can make the right decision for what I want to be a fruitful marriage. So without that experience beforehand, there's a possibility that you're gonna miss something, and then you're just gonna be stuck with it. And I'd rather, if I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna get out before I make that final commitment.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is like that exit ramp that you can take before, committing to your life with another person. It does give you that perspective, and it does give you that whole idea of what you want to do. So, this topic of, like, am I the asshole for breaking up with my girlfriend over video games? There were just so many leading factors into it, and in the end, if you take it for what it was, based on what the poster actually had sort of written out, and it was basically a conflict of personality and not the other person not accepting of their hobby, then you find out early before you committed to each other legally, and all the legal ramifications that come with divorce, which are beautiful for a divorce lawyer, but terrible for the people involved. So in the end, it might end up being better for you because you might end up with somebody else who is a little bit more accepting of your hobby. But in the end, we don't know all of the details involved. We don't know if the video gaming and the collecting was something that was detrimental to the relationship, that maybe caused friction and led the partner to basically declare an ultimatum into the video game collection. So, unfortunately, without knowing all of that stuff, you're going to be left with incomplete information, and you just sort of have to sort of figure out what you can, what kind of judgment that you can make based on what you have. So, good luck to them. Hopefully, they end up finding people that they enjoy and don't have the same issues going forward. But not always. Sometimes you have to go through multiple partners to figure out what you want in life. And if at this particular moment, I think it is video game collecting that is too important to this particular person. So,
Yeah, man, go
yeah.
get on with your freaky self, collect
Yeah.
games, do your thing.
So we're
Someone
gonna
out there loves that and love you.
we'll love you for it, exactly. So we're gonna go to our final topic here, and it is a very prevalent one in current society. Is This is a topic that I think a lot of women suffer from, and the topic here is from a woman who had the issue here. But you can go into it. The question is did I sleep with him too soon? Now, from a guy's perspective, the guy is always hot for girls and will be willing to sort of do stuff a lot of the times, and women are the one who suffer through the consequences of it sometimes. And this is one of those questions in which, like, this applies to pretty much everyone, male and female. But this is a topic, I think, Tim, that you actually linked, and we'll go into that now, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So the user is smells like pneumonia. I like the name. Uh, and she's a 32-year-old female. And she said, I met a guy out at a bar on Friday night. He's a 38 male, divorced. Met up with her and her friends on Saturday. We had an instant connection. Ended up staying at the bar while my friends went to another. One thing led to, well, and I ended up back at his house. We had a very honest and open conversation. He asked me, what do you think this could be? And told me, I like you multiple times after we did the deed. Woke up in the morning and we said our goodbyes. I had packed a day ahead. I texted him later that day, and it took him 24 hours to respond on Monday evening. I sent another text today, Tuesday, and I haven't heard back. Did I ruin my chances by having sex too soon? Oh boy, yeah, this is happening all the time,
Mm-hmm.
every day. It is very, very common, and there is no answer for how soon is too soon, how long should people wait. It's going to depend on you and what you're looking for, right? Um, I think that it's the fastest way to find out if someone is only interested in the one night stand. You have sex with them, and if they're gone, then you know. But it's a tragic way to do it because then you get screwed, right? Literally,
Literally, yep.
you get screwed, and you end up uh, feeling like you were used. Especially when they throw out little things like, "Oh, I'm totally into you. Oh, I like you. What could this be?" And a lot of times that stuff will come first to get to the point where you're having sex rather than afterwards. So this guy, I mean, maybe he was feeling it in the moment. Maybe that was a good ride, and he was all loved up and snuggling, and was like, could be my thing. And then after 24 hours, he went cold again. It's possible. Uh, I mean, my first, the first things that come to my mind are uh, when you are considering how soon is too soon, you need to look into the mirror and say, who am I? What kind of person am I? And what am I really? What am I looking for? Am I trying to find someone for right now, or am I trying to find someone for the future and serious long term kind of thing? I think that if you're just trying to be casual and cool, do whatever you want to. If it works, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Move on to the next guy. But if you're really looking for something real, then you don't need to rush in and have sex on the first date. You're gonna have plenty of time for all that. Like, you could spend that time first getting to know the person, and figuring out if this person is not just like, it's easy to say, oh, I want to have sex with this person, but it's harder to say, do I want this person around for a while? Does this person do something for me on a deeper level? And and then you start asking yourself bigger questions, right? Like, would you want to have a child with this person? Are they sexy enough to risk getting an STD? Like, the bigger consequences of this, quick action. So, my initial idea is like, take a step back, recognize that those feelings you're having, the good, sexy time feelings, are great. They're legitimate, but they shouldn't dictate your actions. You know, uh,
Yeah, yeah.
people are stupid. They want to have sex with you, and then they will immediately discount you once they do. Right? Like, there are guys out there, and I've heard this time and time again. Uh, oh man, I really want something real. I want to be with this, I want to find a good relationship. They go out and have sex with a girl, and they're like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to, like, that kind of girl. The girl will sleep with me on the first date. I'm like, you dumbass. You slept with her on the first date too. Why would she want you? Like, why are you different from her? I don't know, man. What do you think, Z?
No, it's like people are stupid, and that's the thing. It's like, it really just depends on what you're looking for in a relationship. Now, it seemed like she was coming. She felt based on what I had read, an emotional connection with this person. The thing about it is like what they were talking about after they had slept together, uh, gave her the idea that he was into her for more than just the sex. I think possibly like if she didn't have that sort of idea or that conversation afterwards, that she might not feel so confused. But you have to sort of understand that like I think women and men are sexual animals. I mean, like they would want to be with each other. So in my opinion, there's really nothing wrong with sleeping with each other on the first date if both people understand that's what you're going into. Hell, that's why Tinder was created. It's for people who just need to get their rocks off, and that is an understanding. I think in this particular situation, though, I don't think that was her intention, but she did end up feeling towards the end like that there was an emotional connection with him, and now she feels like she's being ghosted. Now, old traditions would dictate that a guy doesn't necessarily contact the girl. Like you see a girl, you ask her, you have a good time with her, and you don't text her or call her for 3 days just because you're trying to be cool. That is the old
Lame.
school way of trying to see him. Could be possibility, like because she is texting right away, trying to figure out what's going on. She could be a little worried. He could be busy. I mean, there are reasons why somebody doesn't get back to you. In this sort of day and age, though, texts are very instantaneous. There's an instantaneous gratification as to getting that text from that special someone. It's like, oh my God, he's texting back. This is great. It's like, but this is one of those things in which I think, you know, she's feeling a little bit of regret because she thinks that possibly, she could have been conned because of the way that he's not reacting back to her. But people's excitement levels, and I think this is something that maybe they didn't get into, um, is like, maybe they didn't say, it's like, hey, I'm not a big texter. I'm 38 years old. I barely pick up my phone at work. Like, I use it to make business calls and don't do anything else. I text my friends when I get home. So, like, I was trying to arrange lunch with my friend today, and I didn't actually contact him till after 6. He texted me at 11:30 this morning. It's just how it is. Um, so I don't know if it's one of those things in which she is just looking for that justification of what she did, just so that like if he texts back right away, then I know he's really into me and we can sort of get this started. But he's not texting back, and I'm a little worried. But in the end, it's like, did you sleep to him too soon? If you feel like you did, then you did. But if you did it and you don't feel any regret about it, then personal opinion would dictate that no, you didn't. And everybody's different. So, but is this something that you should be doing with every person that you meet? That I can't judge you with, but I would say no.
I mean, I guess
Yeah.
it depends what
Hmm.
she's again what she's going for. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
if you wanted just that to connect to someone, to feel good in that night, and like no harm, no foul, right? Both
Hmm.
you guys enjoyed that. If you're looking for something beyond that night, then and from the conversation they had, I think that she started to get those ideas.
Hmm.
I think that really what we saw here is just a letdown. It's like she let it get bigger than that one night, and it didn't turn out that way. Guy didn't come through. So you probably want to, try to lock it down a little bit more if that's what you want to do. Try to make a second plan, a second date plan or something like that, and see where that goes.
Well,
So
I have a personal experience with regards to something like that. So, like the thing about it is that if you're really into somebody and you want immediate gratification, you got to be able to wait it out. Because I think I ruined a relationship by texting too much. There was a girl I was really into, and this is a
you
personal anecdote.
thirsty.
I was thirsty. I was. And I had seen her on a regular basis. We'd gone out on a couple dates. And I really wanted to just say, hey, I really want to get serious. Like, I really, really like you. But she was a very busy person. And it was one of those things in which I was really, really eager to see her that day. And I kept texting her. And it was just one of those things that I know that it turned her off because I was too sized. I guess that would be the word. That would be to
The
basically.
word 20 years ago.
Yeah, it was. It was a word 20 years ago, and this experience was over 10 years ago. So it's like the thing about it is, it's like that happens. People are overwhelmed with emotion sometimes if they feel like they're seeing a good thing, and sometimes restraint and that delayed gratification will pay off in the end. You just have to be patient with it, because if you
Yeah,
look like
sure.
you're too desperate, then it is very negative to to a partner, because if you look like you're too into it, it might scare somebody off. Because if you're really all about it and you really want to get in and you're very in your face, some people don't react very well to it. Like, this is one of the things. He's an older gentleman. He's 38. She's 32. The gauge gap there isn't that big, but it could be enough so that he might not necessarily be like, hey, I really want to just sort of, jump in with you right away and go full bore. He was divorced. So it could be that maybe he wanted to take it slow, and he had that conversation because he was feeling like he needed to think stuff over, and I really wanted to sort of talk to these things about you, and I would want to arrange maybe another date or something afterwards. So, you know, that's just a personal
Possible.
anecdote of mine that I think sort of applies here, because I know what I did was detrimental to what I wanted to do, and I never ended up. After that day, we went on one more date, and that was it. So I was
I
like,
could throw in a personal anecdote here as well,
yeah,
and it is the opposite of did I sleep with him too soon? I've been in a couple of relationships where I started off, and I don't think I'm the traditional guy in this way. I honestly don't want to sleep with you until I like you, until I know you. So like, uh, when I go out on a first date, second date, like I am not trying to get in your pants. And some girls don't know how to deal with that. They're like they expect it so much that if you don't do that thing, they think you're not interested at all, and you end up with someone looking at you like, why are we here? What's happening? What is there something wrong with the situation? No, we don't have chemistry. And for me, it's like, I want to know that you're the kind of person that I want to see something going forward with, instead of just have fun and then figure out, oh, actually you're a piece of shit, so maybe I don't want to be doing this.
well,
Yeah.
this comes up to your dating life again, but this wasn't your dating life. There was a particular person in college that you were very friendly with, and she was very attractive and she was very nice, and she hung out a lot with you, who at the time you were dating somebody. And this is how sort of crazy it is with regards to some of this. Like, you were very very nice to her, and she was really about it when it came to you, to the point where she came over one time and we were sort of drinking and having stuff like just having some fun, and she pulls me over to the side, and me knowing you, she knew that I was one of your best friends, and she came over and was like, hey, um what's the deal with Tim Acorn? It's like, well, what's going on? It's like, no, I really really like him. How do I get in bed with him? We're like, wait, whoa, 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 wait, what are you talking about? He's been really nice, and like he comes over a lot. We've been talking really. How do I sort of like seal the deal? And I was like, I don't think you can seal the deal. And it's like, wait a minute. Going into that relationship is like, you knew he was trying to just be your friend, right? It's like, yeah, but he's really really nice, and she was a little bit thirsty, and you.
Dude, I remember that.
Yeah, but alcohol had a little bit to play around with it. But you were also in a relationship, and you were very faithful, so there was not anything that you could sort of do about it. But at the
No,
same
there
time,
I did some things. I did some fancy maneuvering, like American football rules, like spins and ducks and
oh yeah,
over
yeah,
the
yeah.
table, under the
Uh,
chair kind of.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, trying to get away from it all. But the thing about it
Right.
is, like, it in a different situation, I think that would have been somewhat endearing. But in this particular situation, you were just like, I am not going anywhere near that. I don't want to even tempt myself with that. And she just kept coming, and it was just very weird. And she was a very nice girl, and she was very
Yeah.
attractive. And the thing
Yep.
about it was, is just
True.
your situation just didn't work. And the thing
Right.
about
No,
it is
she and I
like,
talked about it later.
oh yeah,
It was fine. But
it was fine, but
it,
yeah, it was very interesting, and but it is a another sort of situation in which maybe somebody coming on too strong too soon, possibly maybe sort of ruined her possibilities of that. You know, it was like
maybe.
maybe if in the long run maybe she had taken a little bit slower, little bit play the long game and play for the short game, then
So speaking of taking it slower, I
yeah
got something for you.
yeah
So I'm about 1 billion years old now, and
you're
when I was a
you're
wee lad,
younger than I am.
by like a month. Um, so when I was a young boy, my father told me, "Young boy, you're going to be growing up and going out into the dating world, and uh, there's going to be pressure to have sex." This is an awesome conversation for me. I was like, "Dad, please go on." and and he said, you don't need to go jumping in bed with every girl you see. What you need to do is have 500 hours of conversation before you have sex. 500 hours. And I mean, this is a young man. Like, when you're a teenager, you see that girl like on the weekend a little bit. I mean, that is like years in kid time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just stupid. But the concept, I think, is interesting because after 500 hours of conversation, you should know everything you need to know about that person, what they are, what they represent, what they would be with you, and like you could make a real solid decision whether or not you want to be intimate with them and go forward in a relationship and all that. So like I see where it's coming from, but 500 hours, I mean, come on, that's a lot of time, man.
Yeah, I
What do
mean,
you think?
well, your dad likes to exaggerate because I've met your dad and I've known him over half my life. So that 500 hours was possibly,
And
250
you know
hours.
he didn't wait 500
Of course
minutes.
not. There's no way he waited 200. There's no way he waited 100 hours. So, like, the thing about it is like, he was just trying to emphasize the point that if you are going to engage in something like that, you really want to know the person because there are ramifications of a relationship that sex changes. So once you actually have sex with a person, the dynamic of your relationship will automatically change no matter what you feel like or do or say. You have shared something very intimate with another person, and you want to make sure that by committing this act that you are doing it with a person that you absolutely want in your life, or at least want to be able to be with and stay with in your life, at least to a point before other things sort of influence your relationship. But I get the concept and I understand it. 500 hours, way too long. But um, the whole idea is solid because it's like maybe you know somebody after talking to them for 20 minutes. Okay, great, wonderful. But sometimes most of the time it'll take longer than that to get to know a person and to help them understand what it is that they like, what they dislike, who they are, what their morals are, what their morals aren't. It's like,
Right.
you want to understand, like, you want to be with a person who believes in what you believe in and not necessarily
Yep.
something who is the antithesis of what it is you are. You might have a fantastic sexual relationship, but if you know that that person is not somebody that you're going to be able to live with, enjoy the sex. Don't enjoy living together, and just sort
Yeah,
of go on. Yeah.
I think that there is no too soon, right?
No,
If you're feeling it, do it, and just be ready for what comes with it.
that's exactly right.
It could
Yeah.
mean it could turn into a total shit show. Maybe you get lucky. I don't know. But if you have any hesitation and you are thinking you want something more, that sex, you can wait a little bit longer and find out if this person is what you're after, and the sex will be just as good. I promise.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing about it is, for those virgins out there on Twitch who have never had sex before, your first time will always suck. So, like, you have no idea what the hell you're doing. Porn teaches you nothing because that is not what sex is like. It is a fantasy.
Yes.
That
Please do
that
not do that to someone.
do
Please do not
not
do that to them.
do not do that to anyone that you meet. It is not what they want. It is an intimate act between two people. Your first time needs to be with somebody who enjoys who you are and understands that if it is your first time, mistakes will be made. It happens. but it is so much more enjoyable with a person that you doing it when you do it with somebody who is completely willing and just accepting of who you are as a person, because it just makes the whole experience so much better. And that's my final thought on that. Uh, we really went in depth with some personal stories
Yeah,
in that
yeah, it's
particular one.
good.
Yeah.
I'm not shy. I don't care.
I don't care either. My dating life's a freaking open book. Anybody can ask me anything. It's very somewhat limited, but at the same time, it's very interesting, some of the calamities that I've gone through. So, do we want to talk about a bonus topic here? And
Yeah, sure.
it sort of builds on what we just talked about, because uh, in your experience of dating advice, you hear a lot of friends. There are friends, and then there are friends you talk to about relationships, because there are people you love hanging out with, and then there are people who you need their sage advice to basically enrich your life and enrich what you're trying to accomplish in your life. And the bonus topic here for today is the best piece of dating advice you have ever received. And this is the one that you wrote down, and you said this: if they like you, you know it. If they don't, you'll be confused. And there's some wisdom in that. And the thing about it is like, I think everybody has their experience with regards to this, especially because there are situations everybody's been in. It's like you'll be in a room with another girl or a guy, and you'll be like, "Hey," it's like, and she'd be like, "Oh, hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Hey, hey." Um, you know right away. It's like, oh, she's being really nice, and that wasn't just a "Hey, how you doing?" This was a "Hey," you know. You'll know if it's one sided, then you will experience that sort of is she happy to see me, is he happy to see me, I don't get it. um yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, you've you've dated more girls than I have personally, knowing this, but this is something that this was a sage piece of sage advice that you received. If you want to go into it a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay. So, um, not even just me. I was talking to a friend earlier today, and we were talking about another friend who you know,
Oh,
and who has had a number of tragic dating experiences, all of which stem from this issue, right? Uh,
tragic is the right word. Yes, it is.
this
Yeah,
guy,
yeah.
he does not read the tea leaves. He does not. Uh, he sees no as an inconvenience. Not in like a rapey way, just more like a I can get this girl if I try hard enough. So uh, basically, like what this meant to me when I heard this was uh, dating and meeting someone and getting connected to them and stuff like that. It should not be uphill from the start. That is the easiest it is ever going to be. The interest is there, the chemistry is there, the pull, the attraction that you have in the beginning. That's the rawest and purest and most powerful. Like love will come, hopefully. But uh, if things are hard in the beginning, if you're pulling teeth to get their attention, to get their affection, if you have to make compromises, uh, put yourself in an uncomfortable place, or them, if you are searching for feelings that aren't quite there, these are all indications that that's not the connection you need. And and if these things are not there, you're going to be feeling confused. You're going to be asking your friends, well, why isn't this, and what do you think that means, and that kind of stuff. Those are indications to you that this thing might not be healthy. It might not be uh, beneficial to you to pursue. If you're convincing someone to like you or to want you, you're already going down the wrong path. If it's making you question your self-worth, and you're feeling bad about yourself just because of the connection you're trying to make, that is not the right way. And if it's too good to be true, then that's a big warning sign right there that you might be in something that is not that is different than reality. that you may be on a little dreamy boat and unaware that you're headed down the wrong path. So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it's not hard. It's not easy for everybody to understand signals, and we live in a society today where interpersonal relationships are at a premium just because of how we interact with each other. And this topic of just knowing if you know isn't necessarily the easiest thing for people who do not experience a lot of person to person contact or sort of don't do it on a regular basis. It is very hard for a guy and even a girl to sort of understand this sometimes. And the thing about it is that it takes experience. And the friend that we both know had oodles and oodles of it, and still was tragic in a way of trying to go about trying to sort of figure out what signals he was trying to get when it was obvious to other people, but to him or her it was like, I don't know, I think she really likes me or he really likes me. It's like,
Right, or he would see things like, oh well, if this girl doesn't like me and I get her, that makes me so much more valuable. Like if I can get the girl that doesn't want me, oh man, I must be something.
that logic makes no sense. And
That's why he didn't succeed there.
that's exactly right. But the thing about it is he was rationalizing it in his own mind, saying that this is an achievement, and it should be looked at it that way. My thing is that if you know somebody likes you, and this is my indicator. This is a personal indicator of mine. It doesn't necessarily apply to everybody, but if that person is willing to go the extra mile to do something for you, uh, and you've been flirting, but all of a sudden you're doing something completely out of the blue that doesn't even sort of would be something that this other person would be really fathomably interested in, but all of a sudden shows up and says like, "Oh, I'm here. I thought you were going to come, so I figured I'd go too." It's like, well, that person is definitely taking an interest in one of your interests and showing that she's willing to or he's willing to make time for you for something that you think that that person never really was interested in. Clue number one right there for me. It was
Yeah.
like, wow, that's pretty cool. And the thing about it is a lot of those knowing you'll know things will come out of situations like that, and just the going the extra mile, the buying you little subtle gifts, like things that are like, oh, I thought of you when I saw this and I was on vacation with my family. I thought you would really like it. It's like, oh, that's very sweet of you. And it's something that you really enjoy, and it's just something that like, oh, the mindfulness, the little things. It's just like, oh my god, this is freaking great. And the thing about it is like it also leads to confusion because those same things can be interpreted completely different ways by people with different types of
Right.
mentality.
And
That little
there's the
gift,
danger too.
yeah.
The like people will often look for things that aren't there.
Mm.
They'd be like, "Oh man, she totally left half of her soda in my car, so that must mean she wants to come back later, which means that she loves me."
No.
People really stretch to like to look between the lines to say this person's interests me. Uh, you see the way that like she was looking at me while she was dancing with that other dude. Like she's still dancing with that other dude.
Dude,
So
yeah.
you know,
The thing about
you're
it
into
is like
anybody.
the these ideas are, you sort of have to sort of ask yourself, is this something rational? And when you're in love with somebody or you think you've fallen in love with somebody, sometimes rationality goes out the window. I completely understand that. But you have to ask. It's like, did she leaving her bag at my house mean that she wanted to just sort of come back later and talk? Or did she just leave her bag at your house when you were with other people? Um, Leaving things in your car, gifts that she gave you, things like that. It's like you have to sort of be able to sort of assess the situation properly and then not take an irrational response to what it is that you're trying to sort of answer. Because as soon as you go off that irrationality boat, you're sort of lost. Because then you're just going to be assuming things that are incorrect, and you go back to the, you know, the term, like, you know, you assume, you make out an ass out of you and me. I learned that in ninth grade. Never assume anything. And sometimes when you get some of these clues and they start to pile on, and like you get these little things, maybe then you just sort of go up and ask. It's like, hey, I really appreciate all the things that you've done. I loved when you came to the Preakness with me, but I didn't really expect you there, and that was really cool that you came. Hey, would you be interested in sort of maybe pursuing a relationship or dating or going out, just the two of us or something like that? Then you finally understand. It's like, oh, he's like, oh, these things were really just signals for her trying to sort of get my attention, and it's great. And if it's not, you get that immediate clarification right away, and
Yeah,
which
and then
doesn't
you get
mean
crushed.
no, she's playing hard to get, and she wasn't
God.
interested in me because, you know, she doesn't want to admit her true feelings. No bullshit. She
Did you
she
hear the way she said, "No, get away from me"? I think she really wants me.
yeah, that's not that is not a proper answer. So like if she says no, you're done. So, and the thing about it is, in all relationships, there is no point where you can no point, there's no possible, there is an absolute possibility. I'm trying to explain this correctly. There is an absolute possibility of you making an ass of yourself in front of another person. That will always have a chance to happen. And you know what? How you deal with that situation is what makes you grow stronger as a person. So if you take these signals and you misinterpret them and you try to act on them, and she's like, oh my God, I didn't mean to give you those signals. I feel really embarrassed. She's really embarrassed. You're really embarrassed because you misinterpreted what she was trying to say. So it is just one of those things in which now you know, it's like, oh my God, I can't be an idiot like I was last time and just assume that these things are things. But if you, sometimes you just can't control yourself. And those are somewhat usually the ones that are always the most fun and will get you into the weirdest situations. But you sort of have to ride along with it and go with it. So sort of go with it that way. I don't know. Any other thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
No, no. I think we're at a good spot here. If we want to start wrapping things up.
All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So as we said before, thank you for joining us this evening. That was our bonus topic with regards to dating advice. But of course, everyone is welcome to email us at twitchlinelove@gmail.com if you want to be discreet about your Twitch issue, about your relationship issues. We sort of solicit questions from Reddit at this point, but we're always willing to answer questions from our viewers. And we've had a good amount of viewers tonight. Checking Twitch, I think we peaked at around 9 people. No, Rangrith, I can't introduce you to anybody in New York. Unfortunately, I don't know anybody of your age group in New York.
We're not quite at the matchmaking level yet.
Yeah.
It's more just like general like self work.
Yeah, self work. And the thing about it is, Rangrith, you will meet somebody and make an utter fool of yourself, and you will either have the best relationship of your life or it will fall into flames. But at the same time, it is an experience that everybody has to go through and experience, and it will help you grow as a person. So to everybody out there on Twitch, it's, you know, failure is what you sort of learn from your failures, and you can't uh, help but do and fail and try again and fail and try again. Not everybody will go into the first person that they meet, fall in love, and have no relationship problems. That's just not realistic. But that is going to wrap it for us. For Hodohori and Z, and for Acorn Tim, thanks so much for joining us today. We hope we were very enlightening and we provided some insight with regards to some of the topics that we have. Join us every Wednesday here on Twitch, 10:30 p.m. to just about midnight. Just to trying to figure out a set schedule right now, Tim, with regards to what we're doing. But hopefully drop some comments in the chat if you really, really liked us. Drop an email, tweet us. Hopefully you find our advice enlightening. We'll try to cover various topics of the relationship world and try to give an insight, such as today when we talked about polyamory. and give you a little bit of insight into how hopefully what you can do to sort of help yourself and help yourself get out of situations in your relationship life that might be problematic, and maybe provide you an answer or a
Yeah.
direction that you might go.
Just navigate that dating thing,
Yeah,
your relationships.
but absolutely, and hopefully you have a good evening, and we'll see you next time.
Peace, guys. Have a good night. Mwah.